All right, so today, this is episode number 1 of Legal Drug Money. On this podcast here, we're going to be talking about basically the cultural impact of drugs financially, like through a financial lens. Today, we're going to get right into vaping and talk about how much money and the cultural impact, the environmental impact, everything around what vaping has become in the world today. Welcome, friends. Today I'm joined by the Chief Growth Officer of Theglassmith, Johnny.
What's up, Billy?
Johnny, welcome. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Very good, very good. So let's get right into the history of vaping. How old were you when a vape came, like when you first were familiar with, say, Juul?
I guess 8th grade, I got a Juul.
What year was that? Do you think that you were in the first grouping of Juul users? Like when they say Juul marketed to kids, were you part of that group?
Yeah, I would say so for sure.
When they say that it was probably it started out as 1 to 3% of middle school and high school users, do you think that was accurate?
No. I would say the number had to have been closer to 10 to 15%.
And that was at the beginning of your say career, 8th grade?
Yeah.
And then as you came about, when you became a senior, was it still Juul?
Yeah, I would say it was still Juul. Juul was just around that little bit longer. But after I graduated, it quickly went from Juul to these disposables. All the disposables kind of started taking over.
The first disposable I remember was Puff Bar. Is that what you went to?
Yeah, I went
the big
to
one.
The Air Bar.
Air Bar, you didn't see Puff Bar really?
I didn't see Puff Bar all that much. It was definitely Air Bar.
Was Lush Ice Stig a thing for you?
No, I didn't hear about the Lush Ice Stig until I started working at the Theglassmith.
Okay. So Air Bar, Puff Bar was Puff Bar was never a phase in the vaping world as far as you saw it.
Everybody I was trying to buy still did the Juuls. Even though all these disposables kind of started taking over, everybody I knew was still doing these pod systems. I knew a dude that had the Fix until the Fix could no longer be found anywhere. So I think that everyone kind of was just stuck with the pod systems for a while.
So the Mango Juul Pod, the Mango Juul Pod and the Puff Bar had kind of their intersection.
Yeah.
Where the Mango and the Mint were still popular enough that there wasn't the necessity to get the Puff Bar, or the Puff Bar was like a lesser product.
Yeah, they didn't need the flavor as much as necessarily the nicotine.
And then Air Bar, you say Air Bar was the next one that you remember seeing. Which Air Bar was that?
I think the Air Bar Max.
And how many puffs was the device?
I have no clue. Maybe back then, it really it was just a lot of puffs or little puffs. You either got a lot of hits out of it or little hits. Kind of same now. This, I don't necessarily see 2,500 puffs in an Escobar, but I see them as being more puffs than another device that says 2,500 puffs. So I say it's a lot of puffs.
What came after, as far as I'm remembering, after Air Bar, it went right to Escobar.
Yeah,
is that how you remember it?
Yeah.
What Escobar came about once you came down to Austin?
Escobar, yeah, I would say right after I moved down here, I started seeing Escobars a lot more. Maybe it was because Escobars were down here. Escobar started down here, so it flooded down here first.
Yeah.
But then once I went back up to Fort Worth, it was all that's there.
Air Bar was a horrible product.
Absolutely worst product. Then once I tried the Escobar, I liked the Escobar.
Escobar, they say, hits really hard. It's the mesh coil was the game changer from what they said. So then after Escobar, what we've seen is Elf bars and these kind of boxy looking bars. Do you think, from what you understand, has it been a competition for the Escobar? Has it been a competition for the Escobar?
From what I've seen, it's been a major competition for the Escobar because these guys are making the same juices. So essentially Escobar's created this juice that everybody likes versus all these other ones that scratch people's throats, give people headaches. Escobar kind of found a good juice. I think in my belief it seems that they were copied by Elf Bar. They're not necessarily copied, but Elf Bar is now doing the same thing as them. It's like they have this juice that like people actually like. They have this juice that doesn't give people headaches. It's not making your throat like kind of scratchy, not making you like actually throw up and like start feeling sick from the vapes.
And you say that's Elf Bar is better than Esco that way, or Esco is better than Elf that way. Sorry.
I think they're imitating each other, so I think they're both equal.
Both similar juices.
Yeah.
The device is just a different, just a different delivery of the same device.
Uh-huh.
So what do you think about? So personally, when I saw Juul phase out, kind of when Mango and Mint went away, then I saw this proliferation of Puff Bar. Lush Ice Puff Bar was like a little 300 puff bar. Then after that, Air Bar took its place because Puff Bar got banned by the FDA. So they shut Puff Bar down. Then Air Bar came about, but not only did Air Bar have this 500 puff product, they also released a 1500 puff product.
No
but
way.
it was almost impossible to display on the display shelf. And then Air Bar, they had such a hard time keeping their product, and I think they also got in trouble with the FDA. And that's when Escobar came about. That's from my personal perspective as a retailer. Then after a little bit, then it was Elf Bar. So what do you think? Like, so now that the FDA has gone through all of these brands and banned all of them, right? While leaving so many other brands available on the market, do you think that the decision is proper? Like, do you think that they're on the like? Okay, I'll go ahead and start. I'm kind of the opinion that they play whack-a-mole. Like that there's a new brand that gets popular and they try to stomp it down, kind of because moms they heard about it. Like as soon as a mom heard about Puff Bar, she got with other moms and they called their local congressman or something. They said, this is fucked. The kids are on this fucking bar. So it just keeps going and going on down the thing. What we just learned is that Elf Bar is operates under 40 different names.
Many different
and
names.
only Elf Bar in particular has been banned from import. Lost Mary, Funky Republic are still available.
Well, even these EBs supposedly still aren't banned.
It's just Elf Bar
Just
only
Elf Bar
by
itself.
name.
Yeah. And the craziest thing is Elf Bar was kicked out before that by the lawsuit they had about their name. Like they weren't able to send in Elf Bars as of before then, before this ban even went into effect.
So Elf Bar got sued. They got sued because of the name, and then they got FDA banned also on the same name. So essentially they had to cease operation of the name, and then they also
Had to cease
operation of the name. So it's a little bit redundant.
Yeah.
Do you think our government really wants to ban these vapes? Like, like I just saw the governments of Australia. Australia just banned vapes in, I guess, a disposable vape. The UK is talking about banning them in 2024. Do you think that do you think it's a good move?
I don't know if it's a good move or not, but I do know that our government doesn't seem like they want to ban them. It's definitely bringing in far too much money. Like supposedly this year we're going to spend well over $120 million on disposable devices like the Esco Bar, the 50 Bar, the Elf Bar, all of these devices. We're going to spend that much money on it versus last year we only spent like a quarter of that on the same devices.
So the numbers seem to be rising. That's what I've noticed on the ground also. Is like there's just more and more vape shops, and there's more and more vapes in every vape shop.
Well, there's more and more people coming to get their vapes. Whereas last summer we were a lot more dead. This summer we seem to be a lot more thumping.
So as far as vapes being left on the market, is it like, or is it the cigarettes? Like, is the cigarettes going to make a comeback? Or if they did find a way to ban the disposable, would it actually make it? Do you think it would make an effect? Like, would it happen? Would something work?
I think that the cigarettes coming back would be really tricky. A lot of people don't like cigarettes because of like what comes around with them, the smell, the way people look at you almost. Like having to go outside to go smoke a cigarette is way more difficult than inside hitting a little puff bar. However, they're also a lot more expensive. Like so to smoke a pack of cigarettes a day, which would be the same amount that you hit on your vape every day. Like these people hit their vapes all throughout the whole day. They're going to smoke a pack of cigarettes in the day. That's $1,900 a year. A vape, that same amount of vaping every day is only going to cost you about like $900 a year. So it's like saving a lot more money with this disposal.
For the end user, it's better for them. Do you think their nicotine addiction is worse, or do you think it's the same either way?
Definitely worse. I think the convenience of it, the fact that like just now we're only seeing a couple of people like hella being kicked out of planes and such for vaping, but like everybody's been vaping in planes. I know many people that like hit their Juuls, they'll hit even like a stizzy in a plane.
Okay.
So like I think that like the convenience is definitely there.
I was reading I was reading this thing that was talking about that the tar of the cigarette is fundamentally worse for people. Like if when you cut out the tar, the nicotine itself isn't actually that bad. It's like it's probably the heavy metals and the flavorings that they put in there. But their issue is the strength of the device and how close. Like that's the negative. The people that are against vaping kind of go into it's so bad because you're vaping, it allows you to vape more, it makes it socially acceptable, like kind of all the things you said, where it's like it's cheaper. So like where we started with the 300 puff device for $10, now it's a 6,000 puff device for $20. So it's like a I don't know what that math is. Yeah, 10, like a 10x for value. It's a deflationary product. I personally think of it as kind of a China tax on our youth. It's like, right, so they've taken a lot of the money out of the Americans' hands, and all these vapes come from Shenzhen, China. So it's like if Shenzhen, China is where all this shit is manufactured, and all the American youth are addicted to it, and they can't really stop it, and most of these companies are owned by companies that operate out of Shenzhen, China. Isn't it just a foreign company coming in and taking the money that could be going into an American company, like say Philip Morris or Altria, which are big tobacco brands?
I think that there's some companies that are trying to do it right even though they're not here. Like, so like I think that's where it makes a difference. There's necessarily the people that are trying to put the money in their pocket, like Air Bar. Air Bar comes out with this really cheap juice is what I'm assuming, and then they fill up all these bars, they're making the maximum profit. Elf Bar doesn't seem to be doing that. They seem to be actually arguing with the FDA, showing all their evidence that they're actually making a good product. Nobody else has done that. Not that I've seen, not that's like been out in the news, not anybody that's like publicly doing it on their website. If you go check out Elf Bar's website, they've linked that they are actually putting all these FDA things out there.
Is Elf Bar still legal? You know if Elf Bar is still legal in all the other countries?
I don't know. Do you?
No, I don't. I'm not. I would imagine though they're still selling that. When I was watching this video of the band they were talking about in the UK, and Elf Bar was the only bar they showed. Like in all their news videos, it was all just Elf Bar.
No shit. I think the other thing is advertisements. Like, I was under the assumption that all these brands couldn't advertise, but in reality, they're all advertising so hard. Their brands sitting on the counters at like every gas station, every smoke shop you go into is their advertisement. Every time you walk into a gas station, you see this big display of Escobars. You see all these mango, this Pacific Cooler, grape ice, watermelon ice, like all these flavors that sound like super yummy, cotton candy. So like that's their advertising. That's them putting a big ass poster in every store.
So do you think like even though they don't have the pictures of the fruit or the candy on the front, it still has the same effect? Like the bright pink is enough to attract the eye and wonder what that is?
Yeah, and it's not necessarily like the colors. So like you take like a product like that Sweet Scentsy right there. It's still a bright green, but that's not attracting to your eye. That's not like a little kid looks at that and it's full of candy. That Pacific Cooler looks like it's a drink. Looks yummy. What I was looking at with the youth vaping, right, is that Juul, when they started, is they were advertising to kids through like direct marketing strategies, like putting their advertising circle around a school. Well, I even used to see it on Instagram so much. There were specific Juul accounts where they were just pushing their product, and it was like all you'd see. Like you'd scroll through Instagram, and I was in high school, and it's all that would be on my Instagram.
And so now those accounts, the accounts that were created by Juul or companies like that are all dead now. None of them do anything.
The second all that shit went down, it's just like these accounts just disappeared. It's like these guys that were making all this product out there, all these like they were paying all these meme accounts to make memes about their product. Stopped. They asked them to take them down. They just like straight up just disappeared.
And then so now it's just done by influencers. Basically, people that are just doing it kind of on their own, but not unpaid influencers.
Because that's what I've seen is they can't pay the influencers to sponsor their product like that.
I was watching an Al Jazeera documentary like right before I came. That was talking about Asian influencers promoting vapes and how big of a thing it was. And then essentially it was like, well, how we're not allowed. The vape companies aren't allowed to pay an influencer anymore. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that I've been seeing is that like Mike Tyson has a vape, or like Tekashi 6ix9ine has a vape, and then or like Snoop with Death Row Vapes. Like they all have their own vape company, and isn't that like? Don't you think that's about the same, or do you think that's about the same?
I think that is the same. I think that's essentially like Elf Bar or a company like Elf Bar. that's just decided, hey, this is how we get this. We reach out to one of these people, we tell them they should make their own vape, and then they're not sponsoring our product, they're sponsoring their own product, they're showing off their own product, which isn't necessarily the same thing. We're still getting the people addicted to the same product. Whether or not Snoop Dogg's bar lasts out, this still type device, this still, the juice that they're looking for, everything they're looking for is still going to be there, just in a different product.
So it's like a way to have an influencer behind your shit without
Exactly.
really saying you have an influencer behind your shit. Huh. Very interesting. What do you like? So one of these facts I have on money, right, is that when Juul was the king of the industry, they were the company sold for $13 billion. And now that they're not the king of the industry anymore, they make about $450 million a year. Like nobody's buying, like the company is just kind of written off as a loss. What kind of money figures are we looking at with these companies? Like how much money do they make?
With Juul, I can definitely see that. Whereas, like, before I started working for you, it would seem like Juul would have to be 50% of our store. Like, Juul was a big thing for, like, a while. And then after I started working for you, you could tell that just people didn't really care about Juul as much anymore. Like, it seemed like we only needed to have the pods just for people that came up and asked for this one pod, or have the device just for the people that needed the device. But you're not selling 10, 20 devices a day, like one a day maybe. There's not like the people reaching out for the Juul. It seems like the disposables is what took over. Disposables came in and they just like changed up the game. People love that.
So I have this figure from Escobar. Between June 2021 and June 2022, Esco, from their chief executive officer's own mouth, said Esco sold about $300 million worth of bars.
No shit. That's wild.
Which is fucking huge, which is a huge number for 1 year, but that wasn't the biggest year of Esco. I don't think that would be this current year, which would be June 2022 to June 2023.
What are they at so far?
Ooh, I didn't see those facts and figures, but I would imagine that could be upwards of 500 million. It seems like there's more vape shops and more people selling vapes, and Esco only just got this kind of cease and desist order, which is interesting now to see the Esco's falling off the shelves, right? It's like we were selling so many of them, and now we're selling it's harder and harder to get them. How do you see this playing out? Like how much longer do you think Esco bars are going to be on the shelf?
I think for us, Esco bars would definitely be like one of the last people with Esco bars on the shelf, because there's people like you and I are willing to look absolutely everywhere, flip over every single rock to find the last boxes of Esco bars. Versus the gas stations and such, they're not going to work that hard. They only have these people that come and deliver their Esco bars, and they're not going anywhere bigger than like the main wholesalers, the main distributors. That's where they're going to be picking up their Esco bars, and if there aren't Esco bars, they're not getting them. So whereas like Esco bar was 50% of their truck before, and now it's only like 20% of their truck, and they're having to fill in this extra space. So they're picking a device essentially. They're asking like the big man. They're like, hey, which device should I get? Which device should I push? And then he's telling them.
Do you think Esco bars will stay dominant even though the consumer is now being given more choices via extra shelf space at all the places that had shelf space for, like, Esco bars are down. There was a big ass space of Esco bars. Now Esco bars is only this much space. Mm-hmm. So now Elf bar takes up a bigger space. Do you see that becoming more popular? Like, are the Elf bars is Elf bar gonna rise and dominate, or whatever iteration of Elf bar is allowed to exist on our level?
I think, yeah, the equivalent. So like the 50 bar, the what is it you called it? The Mike Tyson bar, the Snoop Dogg bar. Like all these things, they'll get their own little sections. We have like 5 shelves for Esco bars, and then each one of these shelves only needs one for like Mike Tyson. He's not releasing 20 flavors. He's releasing 6 flavors, 5 flavors.
But I guess I'm saying is, do you think that because the Escobar flavors that are left are also, like, we're just going to be left with the shitty flavors. Like, the ones that were the least popular are the ones that are still going to be on the market. Now, we're still fucking pushing these flavors or giving them shelf space when another company has already come in and fucking had all the flavors of the Tyson bar. So now Tyson is allowed to proliferate, right? Where we're still behind. We aren't still behind. We found ourselves behind because we thought we were ahead by keeping on the Esco bars. But now all of a sudden we're flipped because we don't have the Tyson bars.
I think it changes up depending on the person. So such as like us, like we've already changed that up. We've already got an entire row of Tyson bars on our shelves. We got the Snoop Dogg bars behind the shelves whenever people ask. Just kind of like all the Delta 8 products we have.
How many flavors does like the Tyson bar have? Like from what I was noticing is like Escobar has now developed a roster of about 50 flavors. Elf Bar has a roster of about 100 flavors. 50 Bar, brand new, only has 10 flavors. Well, how many flavors have you seen of the Tyson?
I've only seen 6. I haven't been up in there lately, but I believe there's only 6 flavors out right now. Have you seen more?
No. I was just curious of what you're seeing.
No, I think 6 is an exact number. The Snoop Dogg bar only has 4 flavors. There's only like a blue raz ice, a mint, a tobacco, and then one other.
Do you think that people are gonna want so the Tyson brand? I hear a lot of people asking about it. Do you think that the celebrity endorsement is it the right move? Like I'm saying, I know they make some money on it, but can the Tyson bar conquer the industry?
I think they can only do that if they make a good product. Like essentially, like the Tyson bar is only gonna do as well as that juice can actually do. Like you can push a product with a celebrity's face, but somebody's not going to keep hitting that day in, day out unless they love the flavor.
Do you think that if it's the best product that people stay away from it just because it's a Tyson bar? Like it's almost hard to imagine it being the best product because it's a Tyson bar?
Yeah, I think that is why some places will take longer to pick something like that up. Like you're not going to go in there and the regular gas station owner is not going to see Tyson bar and be like, oh, I need that right now. They're going to say, oh, that's just a celebrity. Why are they putting their face on that? When in reality, like that could just be the next big vape.
So out of the bars that you've seen, what do you think is going to be the next one?
I hate to just like throw the rep for them, but like the 50 bar. I would say the 50 bar just like to me it seems like the next big thing.
And reason being?
I really I'm not I don't nicotine. I don't hit any of these ones day in, day out, but like I picked up that 50 bar. I really liked it. The same way, like I've seen people whenever they hit the 50 bar, they walk off and then they'll come walk back up and they're like, "Hey, man, that was really good." They don't switch back to the Escobars. They come back and they get the 50 bar again. Whereas they were spending $15 a 4 or 2 for $25, they can now get this 50 bar for $20. It's gonna last longer. They know what's in it. They know where it's made, the juices it's made with, who it's made by.
The reputability will win out. It's almost like actual reputability rather than like
Celebrity
faux reputability, like Tyson.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. And then so to finish this out, what predictions do you have, say, for the coming 5 years, for the vape industry as a whole? Like, is the government going to crack down? Is it gonna, where are we going to go from this point here? If you were to guess,
I see restrictions on overall like the way things look. I don't know that they're going to put restrictions on the flavors. Like I'm not sure they're going to get rid of the pink burst flavor, but I don't think that should be allowed. Like not that I don't think that should be allowed, but like I don't think that they think that should be allowed.
So you could imagine a world where like all of these Escobars are the same color?
Well, essentially like Jewel, the way they do it, all of their boxes are basic. They're not trying to scream no flavors at you, nothing like that. They're just trying to hit it with that basic black and white label, so that you're not over there like overthinking this stuff.
Huh. I guess I kind of see it as a dead man walking in this iteration. Mm-hmm. Like the idea that you're going to be able to walk out with the device that has a little battery in it and throw it away, I think in a way is over, and they'll come back with something to make it seem like you're not doing that. Like almost like the 2-piece vape.
Yeah.
Like with the device on this side, so you get to keep the part with the battery and this part on this side.
It would be cool if everybody offered that. Like I think that one brain can't just switch to that.
I could see that as like a loophole iteration for a little while until they take the step to ban flavored vape juice. But I kind of agree with kind of what you said earlier, or I think what you said earlier, which is it doesn't, or maybe I said it doesn't seem like they want to ban it. Like it's like they want to pretend like they want to get rid of it, but they really like everybody involved likes the money. It's like China's like, hey, y'all keep buying it, can y'all keep buying this shit? And we're like, yeah, we're gonna pretend like we're not buying it. So like, when is that gonna stop? I don't know. One of the things I heard was Trump. Trump was about to do a ban of all flavors.
No way.
But he didn't do it because he didn't want the backlash leading up to the election. So he wouldn't sign the legislation to go all the way, and then they just ended up doing pods and let the disposables ride. You know what I mean? So like, the politics of what the youth like and like the people of that 20 to 30-year-old age is fucking super important. So fuck, I would imagine that this will change into something that looks just like this, that'll be called something just a little bit different.
Just the next 50 bar, the next big one, the next little one.
Hell yeah. Well, shoot. I want to thank y'all. Thank y'all for joining me and Johnny today on this fucking very first episode of Legal Drug Money. Come back next week and we'll have another one set up for you. Thank you very much.
Like, subscribe.
Don't forget to
Follow us.
subscribe, follow Theglassmith everywhere you can. YouTube,
Please.
Instagram, TikTok. Don't forget about don't forget
and
about
the
our
Classic.
sponsor. Our sponsor, The Classic. Best THCA in Austin, Texas right now. Welcome, friends.